Shiver my sock tabs. What happens when your career as a footballer comes to an end?
In my day, every player had to virtually get a job straight away, just because the money wasn't that great. But the fact that the players nowadays don't isn't necessarily as good a thing as we all sort of automatically imagine. I think there's a lot of problems for them to cope with the mental side of things, of not having anything to do and not being lauded and praised all the time. So I think they've got problems as well.
Well, the problem is, if you play football, it doesn't train you for anything else. You're taught to play football, you're taught to kick a ball, you're taught to be fit, look after yourself and all the rest of it. And there's not many other jobs that you can go into after that where that skill set's going to fit, is it? I mean, it gives you an advantage in certain ways, because if in the local area they know you, you might have a chance of selling something or something like that. But with regards to football, what you're going to do once you're finished, as soon as you can't cut the mustard, football's the harshest game in the world, and they'll just kick you out, because the club needs to be performing at the top level all the time. So you're used to them as soon as you can't function at that level.
Some of the better clubs are looking at ex-players to still work in the academies. Some of the other clubs are looking for coaches on the cheap, if you like, because we have a big thing with our society at the moment. Some of the academy jobs that are coming up, what's on offer is ridiculous, which is okay for probably people who are coming out of the game now, from Premier League players who are not looking to a financial career, but just looking to get in. That's fine, but some of the jobs for some of the guys sort of my age are very, very difficult to get hold of.
John Hawley is a modern-day Lovejoy. He left the game to buy and sell old-fashioned and wanted objects, a bit like Carlton Palmer's agent. But Hawley now lives in East Yorkshire and is an auctioneer of fine art, china and furniture.
I left school at 16 and I could have signed as an apprentice at Hull City, but I did a deal with the manager that I would go in and do the training with the apprentices, and I would come home and work for my dad instead, which was, apart from the fact that you didn't have to sweep the stands, I think a quid a week more as well. So it was a good deal. For me, it was very much easier than for most, in that I actually love what I do now. Whereas, certainly in my day, people just had to get a job of any sort. And I know people who are window cleaners, etc., which is not exactly a job to sort of create any great thoughts about. So I think other people have a lot greater difficulty than I did. Well, my father always had an antique shop in Beverley, and I took over the shop eventually. But we sort of changed gradually and became auctioneers. So we now don't have a shop premises at all. We just hold antiques auctions, a few a year, and just sell things on behalf of other people, which is proving to be quite successful and certainly very enjoyable for me. One of the big differences is it allows you can't be an expert in very much in the antiques field, but because I'm selling things on behalf of other people and could do the research and market things properly, I can sell an awful lot more things than I could as a dealer, because my knowledge, you can't walk into a house and just give a price for everything. In this way I can give an idea and then go off and do my research, which is part of the job I enjoy. Every day is different, which is great. Literally this morning I went to a house in Hull, not a lot of anything particular there. They thought their large Edwardian oak dining table with 2 extra leaves would be the best value item in the house, and that's become almost unsaleable. But I found 4 quite nice 19th century bronzes, which I'll enjoy selling and will make decent money. And then there's a canteen of cutlery, which is particularly nice, and this is American, designed in American, but it is English sterling silver. But quite a valuable little canteen of cutlery, and that's just one little call this morning. Bit of research to do, and hopefully a bit of profit to make it when we sell it later on in the new year. Jimmy Armfield signed me and promptly got sacked. Actually, before I turned into the club, he signed me at the end of the season. I'd got a broken bone or something in my foot. So he said, come start pre-season training. When I got there, he'd already gone. So I'm hoping it wasn't because he signed me, but I think it possibly could have been. Hello, Collins. Hello, yep. Okay. So I had a very strange first few days. I literally didn't know anything about the club at all. And I just turned up with my bag with my boots in it. And I, to be honest, I mean, they paid a bit of money for me, but I wasn't even sure if I would be in the home team dressing room or the visiting team dressing room. Until Maurice Lindley took me in and said, "Hey, you're in here." And I'll never forget sitting down with my boots. Obviously very nervous, big, massive step up for me. And I'm looking across the room, and there's Eddie Gray and Paul Madeley sat next to me, and Peter Lorimer, and I'm in the same dressing room as them. It was quite awesome, really. But they were great and looked after me, and yeah, I had a great time at Leeds. But the new manager certainly didn't like me. I thought he was lovely myself, but so no, that's the way football is. The manager doesn't like you, you may as well go. Especially, I mean, I don't know now, they talk about players not being that bothered about whether they play or not, but certainly we were not in it for the money, we were in it to play. So if I wasn't going to play, I wanted to go somewhere who would pick me and I would play.
Not from his time at Leeds, but it's the day that will live with John Hawley forever. Playing for Bradford City, Saturday, 11th of May, 1985.
I remember the fire starting, and I think I went to the crowd to shout, calm down, it's only a bit of smoke. And then seconds later, I was not panicking as such, but I can remember I was leaning down to pick people up from in the terraces and literally throwing them over my shoulder. That's how quickly it happened. From the pitch side, we weren't aware of the horrors that had gone on at the other side. I think there was only one person who died on the stand, which then that's one thing I certainly won't ever forget, is the guy walking and we were shouting at him to try and get him to come down to the front of the stands, and he clearly, if he heard us, he didn't understand. So yeah, it was a very harrowing day for all concerned. My son was in the stand, so while I was helping people, I clearly was aware of it, but suddenly when there was nothing else for me to do, I just turned and there was a sea of people on the pitch. I'm looking for a 4-year-old boy, and I was ever so lucky that one of the fans knew him and knew he was my son, and she'd put him in one of the goal mouths and actually came and found me, which was fantastic. I will never forget that feeling of not knowing where he is. But then, selfishly, I in a way, once I'd got hold of him again, my world's all right. I'm obviously concerned with other people, but once you've got your own, so I was very lucky indeed. I missed the game, I missed the camaraderie. I think that's the thing that I think most players miss most is a dressing room. And although I enjoy the job I do now, you certainly don't get anything like a dressing room. So I miss that very much, and still do to this day. I suppose I miss playing as well, but it's certainly the camaraderie that's the greatest loss as far as I'm concerned.
It was great playing for Billy. I mean, he was just so funny, and he was a football man, and you'd run through a brick wall for him. I loved him. And then we had two seasons where we did got to the semi-final of the FA Cup, and Billy was like scratching a team together, really. You know, I don't think he had that much money, but we nearly got promoted and we nearly got to the cup final, but nearly counts for nothing in football. But I think every footballer has a period where they go well. You know, it's about momentum. And at that particular time, I did all right, I did okay, but after that it was all downhill, really.